Our next guest has worked with James Dean. He was close friends with Elvis. He created the Mint 400 off-road race, and one of his greatest accomplishments is his time in the Air Force. He has a new book out called 4 Planes Started, Only 2 Finished. Please welcome Norm Johnson. Welcome, Norm.
Hey, buddy.
Great to see you. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Well, I'm here a lot, but...
You're a PR guy. You're always bringing the comedians to the show.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the book. What is it about?
It's about the first flight around the world that took place in 1924. And it was planned for 75 days, and because of incidents and bad weather and complications, it took them a total of 175 days. Whew. Now, Donald Douglas built the 4 planes. My grandfather, this is how I knew about this, my grandfather, Zelotes Morse, he was a tool and die maker for Donald Douglas at that time, and he helped build the actual airplanes.
This is a fascinating story. I was doing some research about it. So now, 2 of the planes that did not make it back, one of them went down in the Atlantic, and the other one went down in Alaska.
And they were, I mean, he crashed into a mountain trying to make a shortcut, and he was the leader of the flight.
Okay.
For 10 days, they wandered around and finally came out on the Bering Strait.
So think about this, the wilderness of Alaska, these pilots wander, first they're in the plane trying to fly around the world.
Yeah.
And then they crash in Alaska, middle of nowhere.
Right.
And they have to survive for 10 days on their own.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
And snow.
Of course, all the elements.
Right. And they walk out on the Bering Sea and they find a little cabin. And so they go into the cabin and there's food. And then the next day they see some people on the other side of the little branch of the sea, and they wave, and they're rescued.
They're saved.
Yeah.
Now the one that went down in the Atlantic.
Wade.
Okay.
Yeah. They crashed, and then they were rescued by a USA cruiser.
And they were saved right away.
They were saved right away. But they tried to rescue the plane, and they were towing it, and it just started falling apart, and they had to let that plane sink.
The 2 planes two planes still remain, and where can we see them? Are they still in existence somewhere?
Chicago.
Okay.
And the other's in the National Museum in Washington, D.C.
You tell such great stories. How long did it take you to put this book together?
Over 20 years of accumulated time, but I met with 3 of the actual pilots.
Wow.
And before they passed away. And John Harding, who's heavy in the book, he met with me at my house in L.A. And before I moved here in '65, that's how far back.
You are one of the most fascinating guys that I know. You truly are. You're a living legend. You're a Las Vegas icon. Let's go down some of the people that you've worked with and been friends with. You and James Dean used to race cars together.
Right.
What was James Dean like?
I met him first time I met him was in Palm Springs. I was racing a Porsche, he was racing a Porsche. And then we just became buddies. You know. And
then you start and you launch the Mint 400, the iconic race. That was your baby?
Yep. 1967, I sent a crew to promote a deer hunters contest. In the old days, we used to have deer hunters contests. And so I was promoting a giveaway of a dune buggy. So I had these people go from here to Reno. And then I got the idea. I read it in a magazine about Mexico race. So I called Parnelli Jones, who's a friend of mine, and I asked him, I said, hey, would you race in a race if I created it? And he said, yeah.
And the rest is history. I got to show some video because you were friends with Elvis, and you were actually in the music video for Jailhouse Rock. Yeah. Which one of these guys is characters is you?
I'm the one climbing up on the left side.
That is you, right there.
Yeah.
That's oh my! That is you were in an Elvis video. You and Elvis were good friends. You guys had what, the common bond with the karate, the martial arts?
Aikido. I was a 3rd-degree black belt.
And so what was Elvis like?
Great guy.
Yeah.
This was before he got involved in, you know, medicine.
Sure, medicine. Norm, you still work here in Las Vegas. You're a PR guy with a bunch of the comedians, and I got to be honest, you bring in comedians all the time.
Laugh Factory.
Laugh Factory, and you stand behind the camera. And when I'm done interviewing one of the comedians, the first thing I do is I look behind the camera, and I look to see your approval. And if I get your approval, it is the greatest feeling in the world because you're an icon.
But you also are a great interviewer because you research
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
and you listen.
Well, the book is 4 planes started, only 2 finished, and it's going to be at the Las Vegas Book Festival?
Yeah, this coming Saturday, also, my friend Karen, we're sharing
Yeah.
a booth, booth 9.
Booth 9, and the other book you have out, co-writer Eyes in the Sky. It's kind of Las Vegas behind the scenes.
And then I'm on the...
And that's you, of course. You've done it all. Norm, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate
Always
you.
a pleasure. Of course, you can get Norm's book on Amazon.
Amazon.
Now, are you one of